I'm going to go and at channel. So at channel in DBR Live, there is 2,211 people in 18 time zones.
That is so cool.
That is wicked, right? Welcome to DBR Live. Today I am joined by Sophie Power, who is asking all the questions, and special guest Billy McDiarmid.
Hello.
Hey.
Who is over at Candidate ID, and we're going to be talking about 2019 planning, what you need to do, why it's important, all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to very quickly talk about DBR, which is a community of in-house recruiters that meet up all over Europe and spend a lot of time talking to each other on Slack. Really interesting insights for you today. Over the last 30 days, we've sent 46,604 messages. This is a ridiculous amount of traffic for a free network.
Yep.
Network. Out to 2,330 messages, and our weekly active is sat between 700 and 800. A million plus messages all time. So DBR Live. DBR is pretty big. If you're watching on the show, you're from DBR, give us a shout out in the comments. We're here to answer your questions. We've got lots of ideas and talks about it. So, Sophie, over to you.
Hey, thank you. So, yes, I am going to do my best to lead the discussions. Fun fact, I'm actually a contractor at the moment. So my 2019 planning has been, I should probably get a job. But it would be great to hear from you guys and from people watching, put some comments in, you know, sort of what you guys have been doing to get planned. I can share with you my thoughts on what I think is a good idea. Maybe a little bit later, if we've got time, we can talk about, you know, kind of trends and things that we think are going to come up. That's come up in sort of my chats on LinkedIn with people. To start with though, Tris, what are your plans for 2019? When you're thinking about getting ready for recruitment, hiring, talent acquisition in 2019, where do you start? That's probably a good way to go.
Well, you know me, I always start with what is the job seeker doing? What is the job seeker up to? So I've got this really cool thing I'm going to show you over on the screen here. I go to Google, I look at Google Trends, and what's really interesting, right, is that this is just worldwide. This is very, very general. It's a broad brush stroke, as you might see. But over the last 5 years, what happens with the job seeker over his time is that he becomes less and less interested in searching for a new job in the November time. So it's really, really cool. And then in January, he gets back and he's like, boom. You know, what's this? That week there is the first week of January, pretty much 3rd to the 9th of January. That's pretty much the highest peak. I think this is 5 years ago. So, and we can see this trend is again the same here. So, you know, peak activity for the summer is late July, early August, and then we drop down, and then we're going to see this consistent drop until January. So I'm planning to, I'm prepping, right, in terms of, now I know that most of the hires I'm going to make start in January. Yep. And I'm, you know, getting myself ready for the content, that spike of activity in January, which hopefully is going to make me a bunch of hires for Q1 next year.
For sure. I think that's a very good point. When one is hitting December time, candidates' engagement drops off a bit. You kind of drop off a bit, or I do anyway. And we all think, yay, Christmas, family time, nothing to do with work, as it should be. But certainly you've got to think about how to get ready for January. I think we always
used to push. I mean, an agency, rather than waiting until January, though, Sophie, you know, we used to, part of our prep, you know, I haven't hands-on recruited for a couple of years now because I'm with Candidate ID, but part of our prep was actually trying to push candidates to start their job search in October, you know, in November time, you know, and actually get them ahead of the rush and avoid all the new year, new career bullshit, you know, that would come in, because they just get, you know, good candidates why I hate January, well, apart from January is just a depressing month after coming back from 3 months off and stuff. But candidates for me always, good candidates would get lost, in the stramash potentially. We were busy. People would come in, after, with the New Year depression, realizing they had to change. So we always used to try and put a lot of effort into actually, pushing them from November time. I don't know if that's something you do, Sophie, or.
No, I think that's a very valid point. And I think this is where the difference in I'm working, most of my contracts this year have been sales contracts, so I've been doing a lot of sales hiring. So it's a slightly different mentality. A lot of candidates now, I've hit my quota, I've had my bonus confirmed, I'm going to wait for January, because they're leaving money on the table if they leave before Christmas. Technical candidates, though, I think there's definitely scope to think, right, I know that I need to hire some, sort of some more technical candidates, product managers, developers, or whatever in January. So how about I start working and chipping away at them now? They do tend to be on longer notice periods as well. Tris, what do you think about that?
Do you know what? I just went and checked on Google Trends for sales jobs, and it's really interesting because 5 years ago, it was very similar trend in terms of people looking in January. And I think you're right. Like, salespeople definitely wait until they've got their commission, their bonus check, and that kind of stuff before they move, and they know that they finish the end of the year. But actually, looking at it, like that trend has kind of shifted in the last couple of years, and it looks like more people are active in the middle of the year than they are later on. I think that, like, if you're a good recruiter, you're going to be hiring all the time, right? You're going to be consistently trying to fill jobs. Does that make sense? Don't worry about the time of the year. Just like, and maybe if you're recruiting in December, you've got a competitive advantage. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm keen to hear what DBR people think on the call. We've got like 13 viewers watching live already.
Hi, Bert, who's commented saying hello. Love to hear what you think. If anybody else wants to jump in and sort of give us their thoughts, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I did a little survey. I'm just trying to find it, actually. Yeah, so I did a little survey in DBR this week, just because we got to talk about the fact that, right, Matt Buckland, right? So if you're watching this, Matt Buckland has sent you all the link for the new tech stack survey for 2018 or 2019, right? So that we can and that's the kind of thing that we're doing, right? Like, so the survey for 2019's HR tech stack that DBR does has been sent around this week. Please go and fill it out. Last year we got like 400 or 500 people. This year we're looking to try and get 1,000 people. But like we're planning content, right? Like, this is planning for 2019, and we're
very true.
Yeah, so DBR, we're planning. We're going to have loads more events, right? You're involved in that, Sophie.
Yes. So So I am planning. There we go. I am planning for 2019. So in terms of what DBR is planning, we are looking at kind of, I suppose, finding ways that we can host events where we can meet in real life, for starters, how we can create kind of, great things like this with content and what have you, educational pieces that people can learn from other people and their peers and things like that. We are securing venues for the year so that we can actually host events, which is exciting. And yeah, watch this space. We're going to have some bringing back our learning events, which some of the maybe older members of DBR might remember.
We haven't done much this year, so it's kind of it's been a year of kind of hiatus of events, like the bigger events that we used to do, Don't Be Afraid and that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward for a new crowd and new learnings, and DBR is about meeting people in real life, right? Like,
yeah, it's great fun. I mean, I think actually it's interesting you picked up on the events and things like that. It's an excellent example of a lack of planning. We didn't get organised in sort of December, January time, 17, 18. And this year it has been difficult to sort of come together. Sort of our monthly sort of casual meetups and things have been eternal. But sort of they're not going anywhere. But on terms of these more, I suppose, things that require more planning, speeches, slide decks, ideas, roundtables, the lot. Yeah, it has you know, sort of stuff for like a planning, and I think that is what I'm working on for my 2019, is making sure that we've got a pretty bumper year with lots of awesome events going on.
You were just talking about what you guys have planned over at Candidate ID for 2019. Are you planning events and your content calendar already?
Yeah. So we've got our events all pretty much confirmed. So there'll be stuff going on with the recruitment events company, with the in-house guys. It's looking good for us hitting Vegas for Unleash in Vegas, which will be really cool. So on the event side, we're going to be doing a lot of traveling again, which is all good. But we're kind of moving over to, from a content perspective, we're starting in December, actually starting just now. If anyone who wants to join next week on the 23rd of November, I'm doing a GDPR product session with one of my clients, with Laura from McCurrach, and we're going to be doing, you know, basically next year is going to be the year of us doing a lot of deep dive product work, because actually online, because that's what our clients want to do and that's what our clients want to see. So very big focus, rather than thought leadership, actually, you know, looking at, okay, how do you actually automate your recruitment pipelines? So yeah, cool. exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's the product of the future right there. So when I did ask the DBR community, right, like how many of you have started planning for 2019? Got about 50 responses. 55% said they've sort of planned. 25% said they'd done it months ago, like, you know, that kind of stuff. 12 and 10% people said they're kind of working on it right now. So that's kind of the same as 40. So like 65% of people are kind of like halfway there, and only about 12% of people have not done anything yet. What's your advice for the people that are at the sort of stage, Billy?
Change the sort of, because to me, sort of planning means that you're not planning. It's a total cop-out answer. Do you know what? You need to look at, you know, first of all, look at your workforce plan and what's coming up. You need to look at when your requisitions are going to drop, and then you need to start thinking about, certainly from our perspective, how you're going to start nurturing those candidates. And you know, the biggest thing, the thing that's going to bottleneck, the thing that's going to take the most time, and that is the content side, and actually, you know, figuring out what content has worked in 2018, what you think is going to work in 2019, setting up experiments, you know, to trial what's going to, you know, happen before you actually start pushing it out. We've done quite a lot of work this year with I see the change. Google Hangouts changed the blooming where you share everything. Hang on, where's the share button? Hang on. Oh, it's there.
Talk about the comments. So what you're saying kind of around planning and engagement of things really taps into what Colin and Bert are saying in the comments. So Colin agrees that event-based hiring is going to get bigger in 2019, you know, sort of well-planned marketing before and after. And then Bert also is talking about this being a great time of year, and this is an excellent point, a great time of year to start engaging with good job seekers. They might not be ready to move yet, but making that personal connection now, so that when the time comes in sort of January, Feb, when they're like, right, new year, new me, you know, sort of they're already kind of warmed up. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think I reckon that's what Billy's about to show us, right? Like, how do you warm up your candidates?
You know, and this listen, we all live in bubbles, right? From a content perspective, where you know, we're so in love with the brand that we work for, you know, that actually you think that, you know, everyone in the world outside knows who your brand is, and know, you know, will be excited about talking to you. Like, most of us work for business to business brands, right? Most of us work for brands, or we're working for, you know, scale up consumer brands and stuff. Unless you work for a big consumer brand, nobody knows who you are. And to be perfectly honest, through through our content this year that we're pushing out, that the content that performs least well is the content about your brand. It's that's the stuff candidates just don't care about it. It's the stuff that gets the least engagement. And if you take a brand-led strategy, it's not actually going to work. The way that we kind of work with our clients is, and this is a report I ran this morning for one of our clients who are a staffing firm, certainly, but it was a good example just because I was running it for them, is for every individual candidate that's on their ATS. We're looking at granular level. What content are they engaging with, not just as part of email and text message campaigns, but also tracking their movement across the website, looking at what where candidates are sticking, what the dwell times are, where are they actually moving to, once they've hit, this chap here, the first chap, he's went onto the landing pages, he's then went on to the job search. Does that mean he's actually looking for a job? Has he just been nosy? Has he just been curious? And using all that data to really establish, okay, what are we going to be putting into campaigns for 2019? So, I encourage people to try and get themselves into a position where they're able at this level, whether it's for known candidates or whether it's just unknown candidates, and using analytics to understand candidate behaviour. Try and really get to grips with what content is working. And we've done this year, we've done quite a lot of work with companies like Klarna and with Onfido, with Capita, with Accenture. And the type of stuff, the top bits of content are things, about the problems, about the service, the solution that you're trying to fix. If you work for Klarna, then what are you trying to do differently within the banking service? If you work for Onfido, actually, what's the application of Onfido? In fact, I love the Medium blog actually for Onfido. The stuff that the guys put out there. It's a little bit out of date sometimes, but the stuff that they do is cool. Actually, most candidates don't know who Onfido are, yeah. But as soon as you start to talk about the problem that they're trying to solve, it's bloody cool. It's really, really cool stuff. As soon as you start to explain, see when you scan your passport or you scan your driving license on the Monzo app or the Revill app or, yeah. Whatever it is, that's what Onfido got. And you go, oh, yeah, that's really cool. When you explain that, they've developed this technology that means the flash from your camera, doesn't impact on the quality of the identity verification and stuff. That's the kind of cool stuff. And then with Klarna, this is one of their hiring managers, just talking about the job, actually just talking about, how they deal with product problems. This was a great performing piece of content.
Yeah,
for those guys.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think it taps into Daniel Meyer over LinkedIn this morning asked me what my predictions for, I suppose, more of a trends kind of perspective for talent acquisition and recruitment. And something that I think is really important is that personalization piece. So using data and thinking smart and being intelligent about applying all this data that you can kind of gather on sort of from a marketing perspective, and thinking about how you can actually personalize that reach and think about what people are actually interested in. And I think you're right, moving away from a brand-led approach and thinking more about content and how your product solves problems and things like that, and telling stories and being more personalized and more human focused is definitely the way to go in terms of how to engage candidates in 2019.
And actually, the other aspect to that, the storytelling is crucial. You're absolutely spot on there, Sophie. But the other element of it, and this always performs really high, is the companies who are really, really open about their comp and bends. Actually, I'm sure you've all seen this before, but the Buffer, they publish their salaries. They tell you exactly what everyone gets. So that's one extreme Joe. But people want to know what they're getting paid. People have got lives, people have got families. People have got, they need to worry about their pensions, they need to worry about their mortgage, and I'm still seeing no transparency. And honestly, when we put out campaigns that have got really specific information about salaries, they perform better, because you're being really open. And I appreciate there are challenges around that, but I genuinely just wish people would sort it out, and just with every position, just be realistic about what's going to get paid. Don't waste the candidate's time. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid, actually. I mean, we've been sort of unofficially running a bit of an A/B test here at Signal Media, and yeah, one thing I would say is that the post where we've been, kind of open about sort of the salary range and things like that, and kind of any other compensation that's relevant, like commission or things like that, you have noticed there's been a huge spike in application. We get way more interest, way more engagement at that initial part of the funnel, just from being open about it. Yeah, it's definitely, and yeah, you're right. People have lives, they've got bills to pay. I know we all do. So yeah, it is important.
I mean, you touched on data, so I'm going to just go back to the data question. Billy, what data do you think is important for an in-house recruiter to have now to make those right decisions? Because I've got a view on this, but what information does a recruiter need right now to get the prediction for their hiring and their hiring right in 2019?
So from a content perspective, or from a workforce planning perspective?
Planning perspective.
Yeah, from workforce. Go to your hiring managers. Actually, are you having your hiring manager meetings before the end of the year? Go and sit down and talk about what their budgets look like. You don't have sight as a recruiter. You probably don't have sight of their budgets. The only way that you're going to get it is by going and figuring it out. Try and come up for each area that you're responsible for. Go and speak to the hiring managers. And even if you put in a forecast, guys, this is budgets are budgets. Budgets change. Certainly our budgets change month to month, but go and get an idea of what it's potentially going to look like, and use that to start planning your pipeline and strategy. Now, ultimately, there's no effort wasted there. Your budgets may change, but you're still probably going to be able to use the candidates who you begin to nurture now, in some way, shape, or form, or capacity. But you get in front of your hiring managers. I think, Tris, you'd probably say the same thing, because we're both big believers in that. So
you need to it's more than just the hiring managers. If you're a lonely recruiter in a startup right now, and you don't have a plan of what 2019, how much hiring budget you have, if you're about to close a new round of funding or not, and how it affects, if you haven't had that conversation with the CFO, especially if you're on your own, you need to do it right now, because literally that's what I've had to deal with this week. Yesterday I was like, okay, tell me what this team looks like in 6 months, tell me what this team looks like in 12 months, so we can build the stuff right today, which is going to hire not for just today, because it's going to hire for the future, right? And using cool data and cool technology solutions starts with, how many hires do we need to make? How much budget, how much money have I got to spend on that? And then you can have the conversation with the hiring manager. This then leads you to what problems are you solving, and what are we fixing here, and going forward from there. So my shout out, and I hope people online are going to agree with me, 100%, get the whole of the plan, 6 months, 12 months now, today, so that you know where you're going to be at. Even if it's hard to do the 12 months, because I worked in companies where that's really tough to do. Just do the 6 month one and know at least some idea, because the stuff you're doing today is gonna affect that. I
think it's certainly when I was at Global Web Index, there was, and I think this is probably more a startup thing and a larger company thing. Welcome to jump in and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think for startups certainly, and lone wolf recruiters in a team, you've got to, there's an education piece with a lot of hiring managers as well. Especially if managers are kind of new to management, and it's our job to help those hiring managers understand what goes into deciding they need a hire. And making sure that they don't then spring it on you at the beginning of May that they need somebody to start in June, which, you know, it happens. It's, you know, and that's where good planning comes in. And it leads in really nicely to a question from Josh, who's in the comments on YouTube. Hi, Josh. So he sort of, you know, pulling on from that and getting kind of talent teams involved in this. How are people, how are you, how have you perhaps in the past sort of plan to empower your talent teams in terms of career development, mentorships, external training and things? Do you have any specific ideas for making sure that they feel empowered to actually go out and have those conversations with hiring managers, with the finance team, to make sure that they really nail 2019?
Really?
That's about giving them a seat at the table. Do you know that? It's about bringing them in operationally. It's, you know, whatever structure you have in place. So we have an ops meeting every single week, and recruitment is always on our agenda. It's one of the things we talk about every single week, even if it's passing, you know, just passing over it to say, yeah, you know, we're not doing anything right now, or we will be doing something, you know. So, you know, and that's something I've been fortunate, and every business that I've worked with, you know, we've had those weekly ops meeting where either the recruiter or us, because we are all recruiters in the business more or less, you know, they've been involved, they've been given the respect and the time that's needed. So that kind of ties really nicely into what Tris was saying about, you know, CFO, you know, getting engaged with those, getting engaged with, you know, and it shouldn't be a problem within startups and scale ups, you know, because the hierarchy should be flat enough that, you know, getting time with the CEO, getting time with the CFO, getting time with the COO, you know, that should be just a given, you know.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I just posted a link actually to a video in the comments, just saying from a really cool thing, because from Matt Buckland over at Workable, about the planning tool that they built for having that conversation and empowering the recruiter. I think that in a big organization, and this is the case when I was in Indeed, there's a team of recruiters. Like we were a team of recruiters working on the planning 3 months before it was released, even internally to the business. So end of Q2. I'm pretty sure they've done that as well this year, and we worked on everything from the mechanics of like, how do you actually, like, how many recruiters are you going to need to make the number of hires that you're going to do, because the first people you need to hire is the recruiters actually. Like if you see that you've got 1,000 to 3,000 hires to make next year, the first stuff you need to do is figure out how you're going to hire the recruiters, and then you're going to hire the other stuff. So I find that recruiter jobs, there's loads of recruiter jobs around with this kind of thing at the time of year, because people are spinning up and hiring up in the bigger organizations. And having the seat at the table in a startup is very much a question of your relationship with the CEO. And if you're not reporting back to him and saying, this is what's going on, and especially in Europe, I think this is different in the US, but in Europe, like, we're not going to be hiring people to start until January. So in January, I need to know who I'm hiring in Q2 and so on and so forth, just because, like, being realistic about the timelines, no one is hiring and putting people in seat within 2 or 3 weeks. Unless, I mean, am I wrong? Are people being hired and put in seat in 2 weeks?
I wish.
No, you're right.
Oh, I wish it was that easy. No, absolutely, you're completely right. We need to be thinking like a quarter ahead at the very least, in order to sort of have the lead times involved. So, for example, when I started this contract, I was sort of thinking, right, we need to think about getting offers out around this time, and getting those hires confirmed, because sort of after this point, people are going to start trailing off for Christmas. So we need to start, as early as possible with getting, kind of candidates in the pipeline, and moving through. And, in other roles I've been in as well, we've needed to think, right, okay, so we want this many people because we've got a product launch at 6 months. We need people, kind of in, at sort of 3 months before that at the very least. So, let's start early. But yeah, I think, it's a great opportunity just thinking about empowering talent teams, to go back to what Josh was saying. It's for, sort of lone recruiters in very small, quite lean teams. It's a great opportunity as well, just from an exposure perspective, to have, to give yourself that seat at the table and go and take it. Don't be afraid. To, go and take a seat at the table if you need to. Sometimes, you do just need to, especially in smaller companies, just walk up to the finance director, the CFO, the CEO, knock on his office door and say, hey,
Yeah, I completely agree.
They don't bite.
They don't bite. They don't bite.
They need to hire people to build their business, you know, and help make everyone successful. So, you know, you're only ever going to come to them with good things.
Exactly. What about cool stuff to learn in 2019, Billy? Have you got any idea of like cool things you should be teaching your recruiters in 2019?
One of the kind of the new things that we're doing is looking at testing across multiple channels and looking at things like, so we're just starting to play about with it a bit more now, but you know, the WhatsApp API is now available on Twilio. So looking at these type of things. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, cool. Sorry, just got a beep in my earphone. So from that perspective, you know, we're putting, in fact, I was talking to our product guys this morning about, okay, how can we put in channel testing, you know, multi-channel testing, what channels are going to be available for engagement through the different APIs. So that's what we're really, you know, that plus data learning actually. So starting to teach myself a bit more about machine learning. There's some brilliant stuff out there, just basic stuff that you can do in Excel with machine learning.
Not all of us are as smart as you, Billy, and learn about machine learning.
Mate, I'm not smart. This is literally machine learning for dummies, you know. But it's you know, the stuff in it that in fact, if I can find the guide while we're on this call, I'll share it out. But you know, it's about, you know, we're getting to get back to that sheet or talk about that sheet. If we look at that sheet that I showed on the slide deck in terms of all that data, you know, for our, you know, we're gathering as recruiters, you know, we should be gathering, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lines of data about our candidates' behaviour. You know, so how can our next thing is about going, well, actually, how can we automate a lot of the engagement and automate the retrieval of content, you know, so that actually you guys, the recruiters, can actually focus on the real value adds, which is stakeholder management, both your internal stakeholders and your candidates. You know, let's take the, you know, we've got all the data there. So how can we, and we're doing some work with the University of Strathclyde. They've got their computer science department is one of the leading computer science departments in the world in this stuff. You know, and go, right, here's all the data. You know, how can we, you know, build a platform, build a product that will actually automatically build out campaigns based on what candidates are actually doing.
Yeah.
So, but in the interim, you know, before we get that product out for you guys, you know, you as recruiters, you know, for me, if you don't know how to do this stuff already, you know, figure out a way of getting to that data. You know, figure out a way of, you know, understanding what your candidates are doing, and then, you know, learn about the relationship between that candidate journey, that candidate behaviour, and your hiring success. So those are the kind of two areas that I'm thinking about for 2019.
It's really funny because my old agency recruiter bosses used to say, "Know your numbers," and now when I think about it, like we're gonna go back. It's you know, 8 years later, but I'm like, ooh, I need to get better at data analysis. The numbers in-house are so much more important, right?
Oh,
yeah, totally. Yeah,
for sure. And I think it's a really interesting point. And on the subtle difference between using tech for tech's sake, I'm actually quite vocal about, you know, not just adopting all the cool tools just for the sake of it. But actually being intelligent about the way you apply technology to, you know, sort of your talent acquisition plan, and thinking, how can, you know, what are the bits that take a lot of time and pull you away from actually speaking to people face to face and on the phone? You know, and it is that kind of working out and, you know, sort of crunching all those numbers, crunching all that data, you know, kind of doing things like that are things that take a lot of time. And that's a really great point Billy makes about, you know, kind of thinking about getting tools that help you make, you know, sort of make that bit easier, make that bit quicker, and make that bit more efficient, because I'm terrible with numbers. So tools that can help me use that, that isn't sort of my secret mammoth Excel spreadsheets that sometimes I end up writing. And I'm so guilty of that. even with a good ATM. I just like to have a lot of control over my numbers. What can I say? But you know, and I think using data, using machine learning and things like that to really understand your candidates, so that when you do actually speak to them, and for the love of God, please speak to them. Don't use these, you know, sort of these blanket mass mails. We talked about this in how to write better messages, but you know, sort of having that personalized reach out, you actually understand like what you need to talk about and what you're interested in. And I think that's brilliant. I love that.
Totally. Couldn't agree more. And you know, actually, as you know, it doesn't. The numbers is only part of it, right? You don't need to be good at numbers. You need to be good at understanding behavior, you know. And actually, if you're a recruiter that isn't good at understanding behavior, why the hell are you a recruiter? Do you know that's just you know, complete and utter nonsense. You know, you need to be able to easily put yourself into the candidate's shoes at every stage of what you're doing, whether it's, you know, thinking about nurture, whether it's thinking about when candidates go onto your website, you know, whether it's, you know, think about, okay, what do they actually want from you? How are you going to, don't bombard them, don't, you know, we all know these things, you know, don't harass them, don't apply too much consumer marketing stuff. So, you know, don't give them pop-ups, don't do all that crap that people are talking about doing, you know, just actually go, here's some information, it's here when you need it, okay? But just make sure you're tracking everything. It's all about numbers for me, you know, to get to that behavior.
So, quick technical question on the comments here. Ashley Cooper asks: candidate reads blog, then goes to the company website, finds the jobs, then applies. How do you validate that the source is the blog, Billy?
That's a good question.
We track the source when a candidate comes onto either a landing page or onto the website. We'll have embedded tagging within the URL, so we'll automatically track where the source has been in the first place. So it might not be the blog, however, it's been the blog that's nurtured. So because we've got it time-stamped, so we'll know, you know, when the candidate has hit, you know, either the landing page or hit the website. Because of timestamp, every page that they've visited, we'll look at the journey, you know, what was the first page and what was the page before. So, you know, the blog may or may not be the source of traffic. You know, they may have, you know, come on from something else. So it might have been an email, you know, that pushed them onto the blog. But you need to look at, in my view, you need to look at that entire journey.
Or a UTM? Oh, I'm gonna get really geeky. Is it a cookie or a UTM, like URL, like actual stuff?
So the source is UTM, yeah. UTM. So we'll embed UTM, and then once they're actually on the site, then we install a cookie that then tracks their activity across the client's website.
So if you're watching and that just went over your head, Google has a service which allows you, using Google Analytics, to put onto a URL a unique way of tracking the candidate, a source, and so on and so forth, and that's available for anyone. So if you're putting jobs links in your, you just need to talk to the people in your business who are running the website and talk to them about Google Analytics and goal conversion and tracking that, and they'll be able to do it. And if not, you can learn about it by looking at Google Analytics as a good starting point, right? Fair play.
Yeah, the Google Analytics docs are a great starting point for that. You know, so go and learn.
For sure.
Cool. Kish says he uses it as well. Right. I think we're coming to the end of the show. Do we have anything else to say? Anything we missed out?
The thing, do you know what, guys? In 2019, go and learn. Actually, just what we've been talking about there in Google Analytics. If you hear about something, you know, go and learn stuff. Do you know? So I'm, you know, I was looking at that machine learning stuff, which I'll try and find just now while we're talking. But also, do you know, I'm going back and refreshing myself on SQL for data analysts. You know, starting to look at all that kind of stuff. So if there's something that interests you, just try. I know that we're all busy people. I know that we're under the cosh, but you know, try and learn something new that you can apply, you know, to make the candidate's life better. You know, that's why I work for Candidate ID now instead of agency, because actually I firmly believe that, you know, working with us and working with our software, that our clients can make the candidate experience a hell of a lot better, whilst also making the recruiter's life a lot easier. So that's my key takeaway for just now.
Yeah, for sure. I think 2019 is for me, it's going to be a great year for learning. You know, partly through you know, sort of on the event side at DBR, like I talked about, and just finding ways to learn how to use data better. There's definitely smarter ways of using data than I'm probably doing, and just learning things is going to be, you know, I'm really looking forward to that journey. What about you, Tris? What do you want to learn in 2019?
What do I want to learn? So many things. Oh my God. I want to learn how to get better at YouTube. That's only one of the things. Oh man, I'm just so excited for 2019, and I think what I've learned over the last few years of my career is the planning starts now. In fact, the planning for me started 2 months ago. If you haven't figured out your plan, get it done in the next 2 weeks, and then go and look at the data of what's happened this year. Do some analytics, and you can make some predictions. You can use easy things like funnel calculators to predict what your hiring looks like and how much effort and time it's going to be. If like 2019 is going to be in recruiting, as far as I'm concerned, about empathy, about activation, and about data. That's going to be what we're up to. And you know what? You got to go, as Billy says, go learn today. Like it's now, it's happening right now. It's easy. There's so much stuff out there for free, and there's so many cool new tools as well. Like technology is going to make our lives easier. So that's what I see 2019. I'm going to become this crazy, like, bionic man where I've got all these amazing add-ons and fun things, which is going to make me an awesome recruiter. That's what
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sharing. I had just screen shared it as well, but I'm just sharing the link to the Medium post I was talking about, you know, the basics, you know, learning machine learning. Even if you read through it and give yourself a bit of an understanding, you know, of how these concepts work, then you know, it's time worth spent. You know, I was reading it while my better half, while she does Open University, so she's in year 4 of psychology, so she studies on a Sunday morning doing that. While she's doing that, I'm reading about machine learning. You know, so
awesome. Yeah, it's great, and I can see Kish as well in the comments. He's planning on signing up to a few courses. He's even posted a link actually. So it's great to see that you guys, you know, kind of watching as well, are looking at ways that you can learn more. It's awesome.
Very cool. And Sophie, thank you very much for today. Billy McDiarmid from Candidate ID. Where can we find you on the internet?
At Billy McDiarmid on Twitter. So that's the place where you'll frequently find me ranting about machine learning and Brexit and Scottish independence. So there we go.
We're not going to talk about politics. Thank you very much. That was awesome. You guys rock. I'm going to press the stop broadcast now. See you guys on the next one. Awesome.